Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something pretty cool. We are going to completely transform the way you think about language. We're building your writing skills from the ground up, starting with the very foundational grammar rules and moving all the way up to captivating, high-stakes storytelling. Whether you're crafting a quick email, a formal argument, or a gripping narrative, the tools we cover today are absolutely going to give you complete control over your reader's experience. Here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with perfect prepositions, move right into crafting an effective style, see how that applies to writing impactful letters to the editor, and finally put it all to the test with a story called The King's Lesson. Let's jump in. All right, part one, the power of perfect prepositions, or as I like to call it, the physics of language, time, and space. So think of prepositions as the actual physics of our language. They entirely control the time and space of our sentences. Basically, a preposition is a word placed right before a noun or pronoun to show how it relates to something else in the sentence. These tiny little connecting words, words like in, on, at, for, they seem super simple, right? Well, actually, using the wrong one doesn't just lose you grammar points, it literally alters your entire meaning. Let's look at how this plays out with the concept of time. Take the word for. We use for to measure a chunk of time, a duration. Like you'd say, we have been living in this town for 8 years. You're measuring the span. But since, that's totally different. Since strictly points like a laser to one exact starting moment in the past, usually preceded by a perfect tense. So you say, we have been living in this town since 2000. It's the same general idea, but a completely different mechanical execution. Now, the contrast in how we express physical space is just as fascinating. The word in implies that you're enclosed inside an area or some sort of boundary, like being in a bag or in Kolkata. But at targets a specific unenclosed coordinates. You stand at the crossroads or at the station. It's wild how just one tiny word completely shifts a reader's spatial awareness from being stuffed inside a container to standing on a specific GPS pinpoint. And when it comes to distributing items, there is a really simple but absolute rule. Use between when you're referring to exactly two people or positions. For example, a property is divided between two brothers. But the exact second you add a third person or more, boom, you have to switch to among. Like the thieves quarreled among themselves. It's a strict mathematical rule, beautifully hidden inside everyday language. Okay, moving on to section 2, crafting an effective style. This is where we elevate your writing from merely being correct to actually being compelling. Once your grammatical foundation is rock solid, we can really start having fun. Good style is a deliberate, controlled activity, and it requires 5 distinct qualities: accuracy, clarity, persuasiveness, vividness, and expressiveness. Sure, you need exact words to express your ideas, but you also need to persuade and communicate your actual state of mind. Today, we're going to zero in heavily on vividness, that magical ability to make a crystal clear impression right in your reader's mind's eye. Just look at how a tiny tweak in imagery completely transforms a sentence. If you write, the passengers pushed themselves into the bus. I mean, it's accurate, but if you write, the passengers stormed the bus, whoa, that is vivid. Or look at this second example. Saying the sun appeared from behind a cloud is factual, but saying the sun suddenly burst from behind a cloud, that paints a dramatically more exciting picture. It makes the text feel alive. Charles Dickens provides an absolute masterclass in how sentence structure dictates mood. Take this quote from Hard Times. Dickens uses these long, compound, complex sentences to perfectly depict a slow-moving, heavy, dreary scene. And here is the genius part. The length of the sentence itself actually mimics the slow, choking smoke and ashes he's describing. The structure literally mirrors the subject. You can also instantly elevate ordinary text into vivid prose by using idiomatic expressions. Instead of weakly stating that someone decided to disregard a warning, why not say they decided to turn a deaf ear to it? Instead of saying someone was just cheerful, you say they were in high spirits. These little expressions add a flavorful cultural punch to otherwise standard statements, instantly making your writing feel so much more sophisticated and human. Let's jump into section 3, letters to the editor. We're going to apply all this style to actually influence the masses. So let's take all our shiny new stylistic tools, our precise prepositions, our vivid imagery, our idioms, and apply them to a real-world format. Writing to a newspaper is such a fascinating exercise. Think about it. Even though you're directly addressing just one single person, the editor, your letter is going to be read by thousands. And these letters are remarkably powerful. Historically, well-crafted letters have sparked national legislation, helped build bridges, and even banned child labor. But to pull that off, your writing has to successfully appeal to both the highly selective editor to get published and the general public to spark real change. Stricturally, you've got to follow these precise formatting steps to ensure credibility. First, you format the date and address, just like a formal business letter. You begin with a respectful sir or madam, but step 3 is the real secret ingredient. Your tone must remain mild, calm, and formal, even if you are expressing incredibly strong emotions of indignation, annoyance, or pleasure. You wrap it up respectfully with yours faithfully. It is basically a masterclass in controlled passion. When you put all those rules together, you get a final, polished product that looks exactly like this submission about the dangers of rash driving. Notice how clear, accurate, and concise the argument is. The author uses really strong, vivid logic, literally comparing a reckless driver to a criminal who endangers innocent lives, yet the formatting remains completely 100% professional. This is exactly the kind of writing that editors love to publish and readers are genuinely influenced by. All right, part 4, the King's Lesson. This is our narrative test of comprehension and style. To cap off this explainer, we're going to put everything into practice by analyzing a thrilling historical narrative. It puts all our lessons on style, pacing, and vocabulary into a pure storytelling context. Picture this dramatic tension. Our story follows Genghis Khan, a great king and warrior. He's riding through the woods after a long day of hunting, and he gets incredibly thirsty. His favorite hunting hawk is soaring right above him. Eventually, he spots a slow, trickling stream of water coming down the edge of a rock. He pulls out a little silver cup to catch the drops. Now watch how the narrative pacing here uses abrupt, short sentences to build immense suspense. The king fills his cup. Just as he goes to drink, the hawk swoops down and knocks it right from his hands. He tries again, the hawk stops him again. By now the king is completely furious. On the third attempt, he draws his sword, and in a blind flash of anger, he strikes the bird dead. Remember how Dickens used those long sentences for slow action? Here, short, sharp sentences perfectly mimic the lightning-fast, violent action of a sword strike. But then comes the twist, and the mood of the writing sharply shifts from rapid anger to devastating shock. The king climbs up the steep bank to find the source of the water. At the pool above, he doesn't just find water. He finds a huge, dead snake of the most poisonous kind lying right in the source. The trickling water was completely contaminated. The hawk wasn't annoying him at all. The loyal bird was repeatedly saving his life. The narrative concludes with the king placing the poor bird into his hunting bag and riding home swiftly, delivering this absolute gut punch of a realization: I have learned a sad lesson today, and that is never to do anything in anger. The author delivers the ultimate moral of the story directly through the king's grief, acting as an emotional anchor that immediately makes you, the reader, reflect on your own impulsive actions. And wow, that brings us full circle, doesn't it? From the exact mathematical placement of a preposition in space and time to the vividness of a single verb, all the way up to pacing a suspenseful, tragic narrative. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself, are you merely throwing words onto a page, or are you deliberately choosing your mechanics and structuring your style to leave a truly unforgettable mark on your reader? Keep practicing, keep refining those skills, and I will see you in the next explainer.